Happy Thursday morning, everybody. As y'all coming in, shout out your locations. Locations in the comments. Locations in the comments. As y'all coming in, shout out your locations. We're going to get started in a moment. Topic here today is who is next up? Who is going to sit in the seat that has now been vacated by the death of Charlie Kirk? Who's going to take his spot? We're gonna go over a few candidates here today and a few other odds and ends. As y'all are coming in, shout yourselves out. Let me just make sure we are active and working everywhere we need to be working. We are good on Rumble. Good morning, Rumble. Live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Live on X. Let me verify that. Yes, live on X. Good morning over there on X. My name on all three of those platforms is at Dre All Day. Live on LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn. My name also Dre All Day. Live on Facebook. Facebook / Work on Your Game University for you Facebook users. Live on Instagram at Dre Baldwin. Good morning, Instagram. And live on TikTok. TikTok name is Work on Your Game. So no, not who's next they're going to get. Well, they might try to get whoever comes up next, but that person is taking on that role knowing that they're taking a risk. So what we're going to talk about is who is the next person to sit in the seat of Charlie Kirk and have that influence, power, voice, reach when it comes to reaching that next wave of what would be conservative voters, because that's who Charlie Kirk was reaching. So we got to talk about that. So again, shout yourselves out as y'all come into the comments. Let me shout out a few people who are in here. Music Freak 8802 checking in from PA. Where in PA are you? Music Freak. Shout out to Pennsylvania, my home state, where I'm from state. I'm based in South Florida now, but shout out to Pennsylvania always. Courtney with the first comment. Good morning. Carol Ann Collins, Newburgh, New York. Good morning. And shout out to you for the gifter badge early on. Let's get the likes up, folks. We're not even at 1,000 likes yet. Let's get the likes up, everybody. Cochranville, Music Freak. I've never heard of Cochranville, even though I'm from Pennsylvania, but shout out to Cochranville. Kylie, 32DS from VA. Good morning, Kylie, checking in from VA. Newburgh, New York. Real PK Arnold McFry, good morning to you. J Rocka 01, good morning. Annie AFF, good morning. Damien from Kyle, Texas, good morning. Happiness Now from New York, New York. Nathan Don. So I thought you were saying who's up they're going to get. Yeah, I responded to that. They might get him. Marky Man from Sacramento. Donald Graham said Never Shapiro. Well, he will be mentioned here today. He's on the list. Bravo Girl, morning. He is irreplaceable, she said. Well, generally he is, but somebody's going to try to replace him. That's what the conversation will be today. Dwayne Mitchell, Detroit, is in the building. Give me your locations as y'all are coming in. Give me locations as y'all are coming in. And like the live, folks, we got 2,000 likes. We do 100,000 likes here as a baseline every single day. Let's get the likes up. Detroit's in the building. Nikki from Connecticut. Nathan Don said, I nominate you. I don't know if I'm on the list. I'm not on the list. Cool Kyle said, what seat? The position of influencing and reaching and having connection to the next wave of conservative voters in the United States of America. That seat. That's the seat Charlie Kirk was in. That seat is now vacated, and a bunch of people are going to try to grab that seat. So we're going to talk about who it might be. I am Carmelo said he loved the easily swayed. Who is he, and what do you mean by that? Don't know what you're saying there. Drew Hostetler said, I love that tie. Thank you, Drew Hostetler. Courtney, member level 20, congrats. Happiness Now, congrats on the gift badge. Keep on living said Kirk didn't trust black pilots. Well, I know that clip of him saying that has been going around. It was a little bit more tongue-in-cheek. He was being hyperbolic because the whole conversation was about DEI. It wasn't really about black people flying planes, literally. It was a DEI conversation, which I think you probably understand. Let's see. Who was that? Jay Rocker from Delaware. Good morning. Kingsman Auto Detail, Tampa, Florida. Shout out to Tampa, Florida. Shout out to Carrollwood. Shout out to the LA Fitness out there, and I forget what town that was, but there's an LA Fitness. I used to play ball there when I lived in Tampa Bay for about a year ish. Desney Pearson, good morning. Cregan from Rochester, New York. Desney, greetings from Guyana. Shout out to Guyana. We are international officially. Stephanie Nash, 696 from DC. Deanna Moody from the DMV in the building. Taylor Copran, also from Tampa. Shout out to Tampa. Ziggy, New Jersey Shore. Shout out to Jersey Shore. Shout out to Situation. Who's other people on Jersey Shore? I can't remember their names. Sammy. There's a girl named Sammy. There's a guy named Vinny. Who else is on Jersey? I can't remember the rest of their name. I remember Situation. That's the one person I remember. Situation. Cregan, thanks for the follow. Keith Wilson from Philadelphia. We're in Philadelphia. You at Keith Wilson. Shout out to Keith. Shout out to Philly, my hometown. Tina, good morning, said, people believe everything they hear. Well, it depends on what it is. Mary Bruce said, what does ridiculous thing to say nobody's going to replace them who is irreplaceable? Well, I mean, technically, as a human, is he replaceable? No, there's not going to be another actual Charlie Kirk clone. Mary, do you not get directionally what I'm saying here? Is that he had a reach with young conservative voters and he had influence with them. And the question we're asking and answering here today is who is going to step up and take that spot? Mary, I think you understand what I'm saying. I hope you can't possibly be that shallow to not get what I'm saying here. Kylie said, I wish people would quit taking things out of context. Well, Kylie, you keep wishing. That's not going to happen. It's only going to get worse. Constant Sutton said, who do you think DEI is? Wait, what? John Amistad said, SMH, you're an apologist. I didn't offer any apologies. I explained exactly what he was saying. The whole thing about black pilots or black whatever was a conversation about DEI. That's what the conversation was. Constant said, DEI is not white people. Who said that it was? Do I got to pull out my soundboard already? And I didn't even get into the content yet. I guess I got to pull out my soundboard already. And let me see if I get the soundboard working. Soundboard works, we can pull it out. Strawberry cheesecake. So, Constance, I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay. Mike Johannsmeyer, thank you for the follow. Karen Bishop from Alabama, good morning. Snooki, yes, I remember Snooki. I was picturing her, but I couldn't remember her name. Yeah, Snooki. Denver, Colorado, Metal Marticus. Sammy and Paul, yes. Sammy was the girl that was dating the dude. What was the dude's name she was dating? She was dating some dude. His name, Paulie was the other guy. I remember Paulie, Vinny, Situation. There was the other guy, that big dude with the muscles, who he behaved as if he was on steroids. What was that guy's name? The guy that Sammy was dating. Constance said, DEI is a black man. I don't know what that means, but okay. Vanessa, good morning from Vegas. Evelyn from Yonkers, New York. Shout out to Yonkers. Shout out to The Rock. Shout out to DMX. Tina said, I think his wife should. Okay, we'll enter that into the record. Taylor Copran, thanks for the follow. Beautiful Align Nicole, thanks for the follow. Tammy Dale said, fix our eyes on Jesus. All of us will take his place. Okay, fair enough. Beautiful Align Nicole said, hey, handsome, thank you. I appreciate it. Keep on living, said Strawberry Cheesecake. Thank you for the follow. It's a couple of you. Ronnie, was that the guy's name? The roided out dude? Okay. I remember. Shout out to Jersey Shore. That was a funny show. Crocodile, good morning. Laura Lynn from North Carolina. Yeah, Sammy was dating Ronnie, so his name was Ronnie. Okay. So Jay Rocker said, Cash Patel, Pete Hesses, RFK are all DEI hires. All right, I guess I shouldn't have mentioned DEI. So DEI is like a flashpoint term. I thought Donald Trump was the only one that got all you reactive, but DEI, I guess, is a term to get you all reacting. By the way, those of you who are any of my moderators who are in here right now, be easy on the muting button, folks. We are open to disagreement here. Okay. We appreciate disagreement. If you disagree with me, you are free to disagree. As long as you keep it respectful, don't get spammy. Don't start spamming or trolling my comments. Don't spam or troll the comments. You can disagree all you want in the comments. Just don't spam, don't troll, and you're good. Moderators, if you're in here, do not mute or block or kick out anybody just because they disagree. Only spamming and trolling gets kicked out. And spamming and trolling is like when someone posts the same thing over and over and over again. They're trying to be incendiary. But if they're disagreeing, leave them in here. Let them be. Okay. Let all disagreement linger. We need the disagreement because without any disagreement, then I can't use my soundboard and y'all can't hear sounds like strawberry cheesecake or emotional, damn it. Or you're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Or
have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Okay, so let's let the disagreeers live. Okay, we want to let the disagreeers live. We need them because again, my soundboard is useless if we don't have people disagreeing. Okay, so the soundboard is fun. I like the soundboard. If nobody's disagreeing with me, I can't use the soundboard. Okay, so we need to use the soundboard. We got to accept that. That's the trade-off. Remember, everything in life has a trade-off, folks. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's Newton's third law of motion. So Derek Dwayne, thanks for the follow. SWK's mom said DEI includes women of all colors, so it's not just a black thing. I didn't say that that's what DEI was. How all of a sudden we trying to have a DEI conversation here? That is not the topic. Brooke said, are you worried about the state of our freedoms? Who's our? What do you mean our freedoms? You mean Americans? You mean humans? You mean black people? Who are you talking about? And no matter what group you're talking about, no, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about anything. Jay Rocca said, unqualified. Fair enough, Jay Rocca. A Mike 8 said, send me some of the books, Professor. Sure, I will sell you some of the books. I'll send them to you after you pay for them. Courtney, yes. Let the disagreements ride. Let the disagreeers ride. Puffy D checking in from Michigan. Good morning. Speaking of Puffy, Diddy, not you, Puffy D, but Diddy's court date is coming up in a couple weeks. We will talk about that when we find out if he's actually going to get any jail time or not. That's going to be a story. So Kylie says, great conversation only works with civil disagreements and agreements. Yes, that's right. So who replaces Charlie Kirk? So Charlie Kirk's death, we know, has left a void in conservative youth media and campus activism. That's where Charlie Kirk was his strongest. He created Turning Point USA as a way of reaching young people who were either, already conservative or were on their way to being conservative voters. And those people matter a ton because for those of you who don't know, Donald Trump in 2024, he won a higher percentage of the youth vote. I believe that was the under 30 vote amongst Republican candidates for the last 25 years. So in the last 25 years, who do we have? We had W. Bush, then W. Bush again. Then you had McCain. Then you had Romney. And then you had Trump in 2016, Trump in 2020, and Trump in 2024. So in 2024, Donald Trump's win of under 30 voters was the highest amount any Republican candidate, including himself, won in the last 25 years. One of the main reasons for that is not because Donald Trump got younger. He did not. Not because his message really changed. It did not. It's because he had people on his side who were more pushing the youth to pay attention to what conservatives had to say. And one of those main people that gets a lot of the credit was Mr. Charlie Kirk. And because Charlie Kirk did a lot of his events on college campuses. And he was smart and strategic in doing that. First of all, because there's a ton of college campuses. Secondly, because what's on a college campus? A bunch of young people who are either smart or trying to be smart or think that they're smart. Usually at least one of those three things. They are plugged into information and news, or at least they think they are. And these are the people who are going to be the next wave of professionals and business owners and homeowners and heads of households and decision makers in our country. The students who are at colleges. It doesn't mean you can't be one of those things if you didn't go to college, but people who go to college, they end up being your high level professionals. They end up being the people running media. They end up being the people working in government and having a say in government. These are the people you want to reach if you want to have control over the way the next generation is thinking. And Charlie Kirk was pressing these buttons in a very strong way. And it's a very important thing, especially those of you who are conservative, those of you who want to see the conservative party, let's just say, wrestle back and maintain control politically. The students on college campuses are the people that you need to reach, because 5-10 years from now, they're going to be the ones making all the decisions. They're going to be the ones deciding things, and they're going to be the ones setting the tone for the future. So what Charlie Kirk was doing was very important politically. Even if you're on the left, what he was doing was important because he was kicking the left's ass as far as what the conservatives were doing in terms of controlling the messaging. And now that he's gone, somebody must step up into that spot and reach these young voters, because what happened is, I forget the actual number. And let me see if I can find a number, because this was reported. I think I heard it on Megyn Kelly's show the other day, but let me check. And I'm loath to use Grok now, because Grok is starting to get on my nerves when I start using the talk to text. I use the talk to text to say one thing, but then it just keeps listening when I didn't even ask it to keep listening. So I'm not going to use Grok. I'm going to go to Chat GPT for this. I prefer Grok for current events, but I'm going to use Chat GPT. It is said that after Charlie Kirk's death, that a bunch of requests came in to open new chapters for TP USA. What was that number of new chapter requests that came in compared to the number of chapters that already existed before Charlie Kirk lost his life last week? Now, personally, when it comes to AI, I'd rather use ChatGPT for evergreen stuff, like just basic known information. But I would go to Grok for current events. But Grok yesterday was really getting on my nerves, because I would use it for the talk to text, but then you would push it one time, then it wouldn't turn off. and it would just keep listening, even though I didn't ask it to keep listening. So TPUSA, after I'm trying to find what the actual number was. So before Charlie Kirk's death, they had about 900 official college chapters and 1,200 high school chapters. That's TPUSA, Turning Point USA. That's the organization that Charlie Kirk was running, the 501c3 nonprofit organization that Charlie Kirk was running. Now, after Charlie Kirk passed away last week, what happened is TPUSA got 17,700 inquiries from people who wanted to start new college chapters after Charlie Kirk passed away. And what that tells you, long story short, is that Charlie Kirk's message reached strongly enough when he was alive, on top of the fact that his message got amplified after he passed because everybody started talking about and looking into him. Now a bunch of other people want to jump into this. And what he did, obviously, is that he galvanized a bunch of conservative-leaning young people to say, I'm going to pick up the torch where he left off. Maybe not necessarily to replace him, but to do more of what he was doing. So even in the brief time that he was alive, he's only 31 years old when he lost his life last week, he was able to impact so many people to where there are a lot of people who now want to do the same thing that he was doing. So his message is going to spread, even if there isn't any one main person. I do not think there's going to be any one main person to replace Charlie Kirk, but his impact inspired thousands of others to want to do the same thing. And there's going to be thousands of chapters of Turning Point USA on college campuses moving forward, which is I believe, even though I have no dog in the race when it comes to politics, I am not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a liberal, I'm not a conservative. I just look at things objectively and as logically as I possibly can. I think this is a good thing, not because I'm cheering necessarily for the right or for the left. I think it's a good thing because many colleges tend to lean very much to the left. I think we can all agree to that. College campuses, just in general, the general temperature of college campuses is that things tend to lean to the left. One example that I can give you for why I say that is how many college campuses that are not staunchly conservative campuses or not Christian campuses, just regular colleges, quote unquote regular. How many of those campuses have faculty working there who are open Trump supporters? Now, we know that half the country roughly voted for Donald Trump. How many open Trump supporters do you think are working at regular colleges these days and they have a position and they can be an open Trump supporter? They're not getting shouted down by their own students. They can get promotions. They can get pay raises. They can get tenure positions, and they're open Trump supporters at a regular college campus. I would say the answer is probably very few, which makes no sense being that half the country voted for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has a huge, rabid fan base. So how is that? It's because many colleges tend to lean very liberal. So more students wanting to open up TPUSA chapters on college campuses is a great sign that colleges in general are going to be a bit more balanced when it comes to the political leanings of the students. And if they're balanced when it comes to the students, then guess what? Where they're also going to be balanced when it comes to the faculty and when it comes to where the faculty leans and what they're open about. I think you could be pretty safe walking around a campus saying that you are a Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Obama supporter. Are you as safe walking around saying that you're a Trump supporter? I would say probably not, which doesn't make sense. That shouldn't be the case, being that half the country voted for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's been the Republican nominee for 3 straight elections. I think he probably has a whole bunch of fans, even amongst college faculty, let alone the students. So I think is a great sign that it will balance things out more, which keeps everybody more honest. That's the reason why I say it's a good thing, because it keeps everybody more honest when everything's more balanced out. So Charlie Kirk was one of the few people who was able to mobilize Gen Z with fiery speech, yet accessible. That's why he went to the college campuses, because you don't need money to go see him at a college campus. You don't need to get invited to some black tie affair. All you had to be was a college student. Then you had to be a student. You could just show up on the campus and listen to him talk. He's doing these events in open space, so you probably didn't need to buy a ticket. All you had to do was just show up. You could even get on the mic and talk to him. He made himself extremely accessible. And that's the reason why this matters so much. And he was able to blend culture, i.e. being amongst the students, with culture wars, rather, with his faith. He was an open Christian. He was openly patriarchal. He was openly on the political right. And a lot of people would show up to argue with him because he was on the political right. And he stood tall on all of these things. And he was able to appeal to students in a way that many older conservatives struggled in the past and continue to struggle with, which is why this is an important question, because I'm not sure there's anyone out there right now who could take this spot because they don't have his mix. Charlie Kirk had this mix of, yeah, he knew his stuff, or from his perspective. He knew his stuff from his perspective, how he wanted to say things, what his arguments were. I'm not saying that all his arguments were right necessarily, but that he knew what his arguments were. He knew his positions. He was able to argue and defend his positions, and he was able to do it in such a way that a lot of the people whose names I'm going to mention here today, they don't quite have his touch. And there's an art to getting your point across, especially when people are disagreeing with you, that Charlie Kirk had an art in the way that he did it that I'm not sure there's anybody else out there that we know of right now who can do it. And that's really one of the problems. So multiple figures are trying to step into his space, giving tributes. You've seen some people guest hosting the Charlie Kirk show, people speaking at major events, and they're going to plan a tribute at this event called the Texas Youth Summit. So you're going to get some of the usual suspects. You're going to get the Ted Cruz. You're going to get Ken Paxton. You'll get this guy named Wesley Hunt, who I don't know. You get Governor Greg Abbott. You'll get Allie Beth Stuckey. They're going to be at these events giving tribute to Charlie Kirk, which is fine. They all have their ways. They all have their lanes and their approaches. I don't see any of them actually having Charlie's approach. But we're going to mention some names here and talk about them in a little bit more detail in a moment. So you have people like Alex Clark, who I don't really know, Xavier DeRosso, if I'm pronouncing his name right, I'm probably not, Riley Gaines. Some of them are named as people who could possibly step up. You have people who are a little bit older, trending older in terms of age, like a Ben Shapiro. Somebody mentioned him in the comments earlier. Though some, again, with some of these names, you got a J.D. Vance, and I'm going to mention other names, so I'll get to them in a second. So J.D. Vance did a tribute to Charlie Kirk from the White House the other day. I wouldn't really put him in because he's a politician, but we'll mention him as well. So this media activist role does need to be filled. If it's not filled by one person, it needs to be filled by 10 or 20 or 100 or the 17,000 who filed for chapters of Turning Point USA, because reaching that young voter is extremely important for the conservative persuasion politically in America, because conservative persuasion tends to have had this branding of this is the party of the old man, the old white man. That's the conservative party's image, what it's been for a long time. Whereas the liberal image is this is more the young, the hip, the going against the grain of what has already been established, the minorities, whether that be females, whether it be people of color, whether it be immigrants, whether it be LGBTQ, the liberals control all of that, and that the conservatives just the older white men. The problem with that is older people die and they get replaced by the next wave. And if the conservatives don't reach the young people, that would be a problem. That's why Charlie Kirk, what he was doing was so important. And that's why it must continue. Conservatives, MAGA voters, Trump supporters, it must continue somehow, some way, regardless of who does it. So we're going to talk about some people in a moment. Let me introduce myself first. For those who do not know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete, author of a few books, done a few TED Talks. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Our job over here is to help you with your presence and your command of the room, which is all based on your confidence, the way you show up, your energy, your aura, getting people to notice you, to feel your impact, and to remember you, even if they never hear you say a single word. This is all done through our processes, which are based on discipline, performance, and systems. You can learn more about working with me by going to the link in my profile or whatever platform you happen to be consuming this. By the way, my moderators who are in here listening, please keep liking the live. Everybody keep liking the live. We are doing a great job. We're at 37,000 likes. Moderators, do not be careful in the muting and the blocking of people here today. Do not mute dissenters. If somebody dissents, they are allowed to dissent. We welcome dissent. We welcome disagreement. We welcome pushback. Only time you use the mute is if somebody is spamming or trolling. If they're spamming or trolling, mute them, but everybody else, let them talk. And y'all want to push back against them in the comments, y'all push back against each other, but don't mute or block or suspend anybody just because they disagree. We welcome disagreement here. This is what we want. All right, we are open to engagement, and people do not need to agree with me. I just want to make sure I say that again, because it seems like we got a little bit too quick on the trigger the last couple of days. So with all that said, let's get into it. I'm going to get through these people, then we'll open the floor up, and I will read your comments, and I'll respond to your comments in real time. Now, one name that got mentioned is Allie Beth Stuckey. Y'all familiar with Allie Beth Stuckey? I have heard her a few times. I don't consume her stuff directly. I think I may be following her on X. Let me look up Allie Beth Stuckey. Allie, ALLIE. Allie Beth Stuckey. Yes, I am following Allie Beth Stuckey. This is her on X. Here's Mrs. Allie Beth Stuckey. Her name on X is Conserve Millen. I don't know what that means, but she's a host of a show called Relatable with Allie Beth Stuckey. Her show is, according to her show's site, new episodes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. She's the author of a New York Times bestseller called Toxic Empathy. I like that idea. And You're Not Enough, and That's Okay. She has 500,000 followers on X. And she is clearly conservative. She waves the conservative flag. I respect the fact that she says it out loud. And she looks like she's Christian as well from some of the stuff that I'm seeing. I'm not super familiar with her, but she's a name that came up in my search of possible replacements. Now, she's already very popular amongst younger evangelical conservatives, because she focuses on faith, media conservatism, and cultural commentary, which mirrors parts of Charlie Kirk's brand. Now, her tone is similar to Charlie Kirk, less aggressively confrontational, which I think is necessary for somebody to get in Charlie Kirk's seat. You can't be aggressively confrontational, meaning you can't make fun of people for saying something dumb. In other words, they can't be using my soundboard. So I can't replace Charlie Kirk because I like using my soundboard and calling out people's straw man arguments and emotional appeals to emotional and logical fallacies. See, I couldn't replace Charlie Kirk. See, Charlie Kirk wouldn't do that. I do it. Charlie Kirk wouldn't do that. I don't have the right personality to replace Charlie Kirk. But Allie Beth Stuckey, they say she is, again, I don't listen to her as much, but she's less aggressively confrontational, which could broaden her appeal. The challenge with this is, and with any female who I'm going to name here today, because she's not the last female I'm going to name, challenge is it can't be a female. Sorry, ladies. Sorry, conservative ladies or liberal ladies listening to this. A female cannot replace Charlie Kirk. The position that he owned in the marketplace cannot be replaced by a woman. It has to be done by a man. The reason why Charlie Kirk's approach worked the way that it did is, first of all, Charlie Kirk was a man himself, and he was appealing to a whole lot of men. And especially in the conservative space, y'all tell me if I have this right or wrong, in the conservative space, he's usually very family-oriented. It's household-oriented, man, woman, child-oriented. And in a conservative family, I would generally think, y'all tell me if I got it right or wrong, the man is the head of the household. Is this true? Conservatives? Is the man the head of the household in a conservative household? And if the answer is yes, give me a yes or no in the comments. If the answer is yes, then you need a man to relate to a man. You can't send a woman to relate to men. That just doesn't work. We talked about this, and I made jokes about it a few weeks ago and months ago, that there was a woman on the left. Her name was Olivia Julia, whatever that woman's name is. Y'all seen this woman, Olivia Julia? Let me look her up. And I should be following her. I don't know if I'm following her, but I should be following her. Her name is Olivia Julia something. Olivia Juliana. Y'all seen this woman? I need to follow her. I'll just follow her on X. Olivia Juliana. Her bio says, this is Olivia Juliana, this woman. Now, she's on the left. She's not on the right. She is not a replacement for Charlie Kirk. All right, this chick right here. Now, she calls herself Texas tough, big mouthed liberal. So she owns it. All opinions are my own. So she owns that she's a big mouth liberal. And I've never met her in person, but she does, just by the tone of the things I see from her on X. Even though I just follow her, she comes up on my For You feed all the time. And she is big mouth. She is a person who likes to talk. She likes the sound of her own voice, and she tends to think that the things that she says are actually very profound. She talks as if she really thinks that what she's saying is very strong. They were saying months ago that Olivia was the woman in charge of bringing men back to the Democratic Party. Those are not my words. That's what I read. She was in charge of, open quote, bringing men back to the Democratic Party, close quote. This is a very bad idea for several reasons. One reason it's a bad idea is because she's a woman. You cannot draw a bunch of men into the Democratic Party with a woman. That's just not going to work. What'd you say? My son just walked in the room. That remote doesn't work in here. It only works out there.
I already turned it on over there.
Yeah, you got to take it out there where it works. It won't work in here.
I can look in there.
Okay. See you later. All right, so y'all won't see him on camera yet. You can't send a woman to draw men in unless using sex appeal. You can draw some men in using sex appeal, but that doesn't have a lasting effect, unfortunately. And Miss Olivia Juliana, no disrespect, Olivia, you happen to be watching this. She ain't that person. All right. So we got to go back to my soundboard.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Y'all can go look up Olivia on your own time. No personal diss to Olivia, but no, that's not going to work. So going back to Charlie Kirk and Allie Beth Stuckey, you can't send a woman to draw a whole bunch of men in, especially in the conservative space. Maybe in a liberal space that will work. Not going to work in the conservative space. You have to send a man. And Charlie Kirk, again, he had a touch. Yes, it's good that Allie is less aggressively confrontational. Charlie was definitely that. But a man being less aggressively confrontational it has a different effect than a woman being less aggressively confrontational. Because a woman is not going to be aggressively confrontational with men just naturally speaking, because a woman doesn't have the physicality that a man has. So when a woman does it, it may be for a biological reason, survival reason, whereas a man doing it is much more of it comes off as more of a self-control, personal touch reason, if that makes sense. So it can't be Allie Beth Stuckey. All right. Shout out to Allie Beth Stuckey. She has her lane, but this lane, she can't switch into this lane. She doesn't have Charlie Kirk's national media scale machine. Many people did not. Turning Point USA's infrastructure, which Charlie had. The college chapter presence, which Charlie had. The donor network that Charlie had. And the donor network, by the way, a lot of that money was coming from Mr. Bibi Netanyahu's country, and they had some issues with Charlie recently. Candace Owens has been talking about that in detail. Candace's name will come up in this conversation here today, later on. And all of these things were core to his reach, and she doesn't quite have those things. So brand and reach are interconnected. You have a strong brand, you have a strong reach. You have a strong reach, you got a strong brand. So people filling his role need to have both the charisma and the infrastructure. Charlie Kirk had an infrastructure that many people don't have. Moving on. J.D. Vance stepped in to host Charlie Kirk's show, and it signals that members of the political class, of which J.D. is a prominent one, they want to keep the message alive, possibly leveraging the government platform and visibility. This one is an immediate no. Cannot be J.D. Vance. I don't have a problem with J.D. Vance, but J.D. Vance is in politics. Now, if you already are in politics and you already have a declared position, on top of the fact that you're either trying to win an election or you already won an election, like J.D. Vance, he already won an election. Well, he won on the Trump ticket. And right now, it looks like he's going to be the candidate in 2028 for the Republican Party. Well, you are on some level compromised as soon as you get into the political space and you're actually getting on a ballot. You're compromised in some way. Why? Because you're taking a ton of donor money. You have people you're going to have to answer to. You know what's happening on the inside. And there are certain things that you simply can't say simply because of the fact that you work in politics. You can't do it. And so J.D. Vance can't take Charlie Kirk's position. Again, on top of the fact that he has a declared spot as a Republican politician, elected politician. Charlie Kirk, yes, he was a conservative. It was very clear he was conservative, very clear he was a Trump supporter, but he was still an independent person with his own organization that he controlled. So it comes off as even though he could have been saying the same thing J.D. Vance said, it has more credibility when it comes from an independent citizen who is not elected than when it comes from a elected politician. Does that make sense to everybody? It just feels different. Even if he said the same thing. If Charlie Kirk was to go become vice president, let's say he was vice president instead of J.D. Vance, and he was saying the same stuff that he's saying now, it would not, or that he was saying, it wouldn't feel the same he was saying it as vice president than if he's saying it as the head of Turning Point USA. Why? Because Turning Point USA, I mean, you could say whatever you want. You get on the Republican Party or you're on the Donald Trump ticket, you can't just say anything. You can't criticize Donald Trump. All right, there's certain people you can't criticize as soon as you get elected. Why? Because those people control whether or not you get elected again. And you got to work with those people every day. Charlie Kirk didn't have those problems. So it's a whole different situation as soon as you get into the government. So J.D. Vance, it's appreciated, I'm sure, by the Charlie Kirk family and his biggest supporters that J.D. Vance is speaking up on behalf of Charlie Kirk. Because as we already established and all of you already know, Charlie Kirk played a big role in J.D. Vance being in the White House right now. J.D. Vance wouldn't be in the White House. That'd be Tim Walz. Imagine it. That'd be Tim Walz if Charlie Kirk hadn't done what he did to galvanize the youth vote in 2024. That's just an absolute accepted reality. He helped them win. So it's good that J.D. Vance is supporting, but J.D. Vance can't take the spot. He's just not that guy. He has political legitimacy, and that can help stabilize the movement, some may say. I say that would mess it up. That would mess it up as soon as you throw politics in it, because people generally just have a distrust of politics as a whole. And I understand that distrust. I don't trust politics as a whole in the United States of America because the situation is designed. Politics in America is designed that you have to be a liar in order to win elections. Even J.D. Vance. I'm not saying he's a liar as a human. I'm saying that as a politician, you have to tell some lies in some way in order to win. And listen, every human being tells some lies in some way. There's not just politicians. It's that when you're a politician, you got to tell some lies in some way, and your lies are getting exposed, and then you got to kind of walk around the lies. Whereas the everyday human, you can tell lies, and you're not getting called out by the media every single day for it. It's just a dirty game. It's just not a clean game, politics in America, which is why as soon as you get in it, there are certain things you can't do anymore. Now, political figures like Vance lack the relatability that I just talked about that Charlie Kirk had with students and young folks, because again, if J.D. Vance shows up to a college campus, you're showing up as the vice president. You're not showing up as a guy with an opinion. When Charlie Kirk showed up to a college campus, he was showing up as a guy with an opinion. If J.D. Vance came to the same school that Charlie Kirk got shot at and people came to talk, they wouldn't question J.D. Vance the same way they were questioning Charlie Kirk, because they were questioning Charlie Kirk like he's just a guy and we're just talking. Yes, he's more famous. Yes, he has a platform. Yes, he's well known. That's why I showed up. But I'm talking to him as he's just a guy who has this nonprofit organization. J.D. Vance shows up, you're talking to the vice president. All right. You probably can't even ask the same questions to J.D. Vance that you would ask to Charlie Kirk. Why? Because he's the vice president. So you have this baggage. You have the baggage of policy. You have the baggage of constraints. You have the baggage of whomever you're working with that people don't even know about. Content creators don't have that problem. Charlie Kirk didn't have that problem. So movement versus institutional politics often speak differently. Charlie Kirk had a movement. J.D. Vance is institutionalized just because of the fact that he got on that Trump ticket, and he will always have that on him no matter what he does. This is the reason why you take someone like Kamala Harris, if she doesn't run for president in 2028. Right now, it ain't looking like she has much momentum, but who knows? She could run. Actually, I think she's going to try to run, because what the hell else is she going to do? Kamala Harris goes and starts a podcast. It's not going to feel the same than if she had never been the VP, had never tried to run for president. Why? Because, first of all, you already are institutionalized. And secondly, in fact, Kamala Harris probably shouldn't start a podcast. Or whatever you think about Michelle Obama's podcast, or multiply that by 10 negatively, and you get Kamala Harris's podcast. Different conversation for a different day. Now, Alex Clark and Xavier Russo. I'm not familiar with either one of these individuals, but they came up in my search. It says that they are emerging as younger voices who already share cultural and ideological alignment with Charlie Kirk. So let's look up Alex Clark and Xavier. I've seen this name Xavier before, but I do not know. If both of them walked in the room right now, I would not know who they are. So Alex Clark. So let's look up Alex Clark. So Alex Clark is a woman? I guess so. Yeah, Alex Clark. So Alex Clark is this woman right here. I would not know this woman if she was in a police lineup. This is Alex Clark. She's the host of Culture Apothecary with Alex Clark. She is a member somewhere of Turning Point USA. She has it in her bio. Says OG cute conservative. Cute conservative. I don't know. I guess that's just a play on her considering herself to be cute. She's a health and wellness girly. And she has icons, or what do they call these? Emojis. The American flag, a piece of, looks like T-bone steak, and a glass of milk. And she's been a Swiftie since 2011. So I wonder how she dealt with Taylor Swift endorsing Kamala Harris. I guess she figured that out. And she has 144,000 followers on X. And I'm just looking at her pinned comment on X. It is, she was excited to announce about a year ago, a little over a year ago, her new podcast, which is Culture Apothecary with Alex Clark. Comes out twice a week. Oh, same show, new name. So I guess she just rebranded herself. And she just put out this post just letting everybody know that her new show, Culture Apothecary, was coming out. This is Alex Clark. Again, I had never heard of this woman. And now I'm not going to read anything about her. And then let's look up Xavier, this other person. Xavier, I believe, is a man. Xavier. Yes, I've seen this guy before. Him I have seen. So Xavier, here he is. Xavier, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Let's just call him DeRosso. And he has a bunch of Make America Party Again hats on his platform. This is Xavier. I don't know where he's from. He's black. But this is Xavier. And he calls himself, he has 279,000 followers on X. Uncle Tom's favorite nephew, Xavier, Gen Z activist. He has an American flag in his bio, and PragerU personality. So I guess he does his stuff under Dennis Prager's umbrella. RNC Youth Advisory Council. So he's plugged in politically very well. And then he has his email address. He's based in LA. And his pinned comment is a video of him. Looks like him arguing with who's this guy? Cornel West.
Why are we still talking about white supremacy in 2024? Why are we still talking about that hundreds of years later? What do white people do with that black people can't? How is white supremacy even still on the forefront of your mind? You're stuck in the past. You're stuck in these dated issues. Oh, no, that's not, you're really ignorant, brother. You don't think white supremacy has anything to do with what's going on in Gaza? I've been black for 27 years, and I've never been inferior to a white person. What is the white supremacy that is affecting your life? I would like to hear it. What can't I do that a white person can't do?
You are the few black people that have been mistreated. Okay, all right, I see.
I've never been mistreated. Every demographic has been mistreated.
So he has that clip of him arguing with Cornel West on, where is this? Oh, on Piers Morgan. Where else? Piers Morgan is a good place if you want to watch people argue. It actually can be very entertaining. So he was arguing with Cornel West on Piers Morgan, this Xavier guy. And he has said, I've been black for 27 years. That was last August. So I guess he's about 28 years of age, Xavier. And I don't know why he still has his picture up, because in this video, he doesn't even look like that picture with the blonde hair. So he is, and yeah, he's talking about things going on. He's talking about Charlie Kirk, he's talking about Bill Ackman, that's been a big conversation. I've heard Candace Owens digging into that as well. So these two people, Alex and Xavier, they are younger voices who already share cultural and ideological alignment with Kirk. True. Sharp commentary, focus on MAGA youth, etc. Now, here's what I would say about both of them. I already told you Alex Clark would not be qualified. Same reason for Ali Beth Stuckey not being qualified. You cannot send a woman to speak to a bunch of conservative men and galvanize them the way Charlie Kirk did. Now, can she galvanize some men? Yes. Does she probably have a bunch of men in her audience right now? I'm pretty sure she does. And as opposed to Olivia Giuliana over on the Democratic Party, this kind of woman, Alex, based on the photo that I saw, she could draw some men in for reasons other than just what she's saying out of her mouth, or if you get what I'm saying. But at the same time, she's still a female. And you're not going to draw a bunch of men, future heads of households with a woman. It's just not going to happen. On top of that, let's compare that to Mr. Xavier. Xavier's black. And conservative in America is generally a bunch of white people. Is Xavier going to be the person who's going to galvanize a bunch of white people to jump into the conservative party as a black person doing the speaking? The answer is no, he is not. He's not. And I say that as a black person myself. If you're trying to galvanize a bunch of conservative white men, or just a bunch of white men, period, to see things the way that you see them, you probably got to send a white man. That's what you got to do. You can't send Xavier. Now, Xavier is going to have his pocket of people who he will be able to convert. And Xavier will do a great job, I believe, of someone say, you're black. Oh, well, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm black. That's what I'm saying. And if you're going to get a bunch of white men to start seeing things a certain way, especially at a mass level, you got to send a white man. Same way if you're trying to convince a bunch of white women, you got to send a white woman. You have to show that you got the woman around. It depends on what the subject is, actually, when it comes to the women. But let's just keep it on the Charlie Kirk thing. Charlie Kirk was effective at what he did because he looked like the everyday white man. Aside from the fact that he was very tall. I say Charlie Kirk was like 6'5". Other than that, he looked like the average white guy. That's what he looked like. He looked like an average white guy. Xavier ain't the average white guy because he ain't white. He's black. What he can do, where Xavier can be very effective, is that he can reach black people who are otherwise afraid to admit that they may have some conservative leanings, or that they agree with some conservative talking points, or that they want to vote for Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, etc. He can get them to feel comfortable saying, yes, I'm black, and maybe my family is all liberal. Maybe I was raised to be a Democrat, but I lean more conservative, and be proud of it and be willing to stand on it. And he can provide them the verbal material to respond back when people start questioning and challenging. Well, you're black. How are you going to be conservative? You're black. How are you going to support Donald Trump? You're black. How are you not going to think this, this, and this? These things that Democrats have been telling black people for the last 65 years. Xavier can fill in that spot. And I'm saying all these things, assuming that these people probably know these things. If Xavier was listening to this right now, maybe he is. Hey, Xavier, if you're listening. But if he was listening to this, he'd probably say, yeah, you're probably right. He probably agrees with this. He's not going to be the one to lead this because, again, you're going to get a bunch of white men to lean one way. You probably can't send a black person to do it. It's just not going to happen. Are there some white people who would listen? Yes. But are you going to get the masses of white men to listen with a black person as a leader? The answer is that's not going to happen. So these people do have the sharp commentary, obviously. Do they focus on MAGA youth? Yes, they do. They are less known nationally, however, but they could grow rapidly to fill youth influencer gaps. And understand that you don't have to be as popular as Charlie Kirk to still support what he was doing. So all these people who I'm mentioning, if each one of them grabs a little pocket, let's say I name 10 people and each one of them grabs 10%, they can cumulatively make up for what Charlie was doing. But you still want to have that one galvanizing figure. And I don't think that person has emerged just yet. Now, their platforms, as I said, smaller, niche platforms, less polished, less organizational backing, and the scaling and cohesion may be harder. And jumping from influencer to a national movement takes, again, resources, leadership, and infrastructure. So where are you going to get the resources from? Charlie Kirk was able to raise a ton of money. He raised a lot of money internationally. He raised a lot of money nationally. He had a lot of friends. He had the leadership skills, and he was able to put the infrastructure together. These are all different skills besides just being good at talking on the internet. These are two different skill sets. I'm not saying these people don't have it, but you got to have it. Next, our friend Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro. Now, one thing about Ben is that he is just as well known. I don't know if we'll say popular, but he is just as well known. He is just as noted as Charlie Kirk. He is a heavyweight. He has a lot of reach. Let's look up Ben Shapiro on X. I'm pretty sure I'm following Ben, but if I'm not, I will follow him. Yes, I am following Ben. Ben has 7.9 million followers on X. He is a co-founder of the Daily Wire. He hosts his own show called, if you couldn't guess, The Ben Shapiro Show. He is a #1 best-selling author. He calls himself America's #1 ex-rapper. I remember that little rap song he did. And he has a new book called Lions and Scavengers. It just came out. I think it came out maybe a week or two ago because he was on Megyn Kelly talking about it. And, I mean, most of you are familiar with Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is pretty well known. Now, there are several challenges with Ben Shapiro. First, let's talk about the positives. He's a heavyweight. He's well known. He has a lot of reach. He could occupy part of Kirk's space. He was a supporter of Charlie Kirk. He already commands a lot of respect and attention. If he says he's having an event, a bunch of people are going to show up to argue with him, if not to listen to him. He has a widespread recognition. He's written a bunch of books. He has a very large audience, and he has a big platform known as the Daily Wire. Now, if he wants to align with the younger listeners, he may have to shift his tone or his content. The issues with Ben Shapiro, and there are a few of them. One of them is Ben Shapiro is not Christian, and he's Jewish. And some people who are conservative have an issue right now with what's going on over there. And Ben Shapiro has planted his flag very, very strongly as far as where he stands there. That would be a huge roadblock for Ben Shapiro, #1. #2, Ben Shapiro has a much different communication style than Charlie Kirk. Ben Shapiro is the kind of guy. Here's what I'll say about Ben Shapiro. I've never seen or met Ben Shapiro in person. I don't know what Ben's physical measurements are, but he seems like he might be pretty short. Let's see if we can find out. Anybody know how tall Ben Shapiro is? But he's 5'9". Okay, he's not that short. I mean, average man is about 5'9". So Ben Shapiro is about the height of the average man. Ben Shapiro, by his communication style, I went to a middle school that was about half black, half white. Ben Shapiro is the kind of guy who people like me in middle school or high school want to punch this guy in his face. That's the kind of personality Ben Shapiro has. So we got to be honest. Now, I've heard Ben Shapiro talk, and there's several things I've heard him say that I liked. There are things I've heard him say where I'm like, you're going a little bit too hard on your side, whatever side you're on. Ben Shapiro is the kind of guy that people want to punch him in his face. Now, here's why. Not for his very existence or his religion or none of that. Because Ben Shapiro he's very smart. He's a very smart individual. He is very sharp-tongued. He's really good with his words, and he's really good at the clapback. See, when you're good at all three of those things, you're smart, so you know what you're talking about. You are sharp at saying what you're talking about, so you're not just thinking it, you can say it, and you're really good at taking somebody else's argument and kind of twisting them around in circles and making them look stupid. Ben Shapiro is very good at all three of these, and that can make people love you or can make people hate you. That's why Ben Shapiro doesn't have anybody neutral about him. You either are a fan of Ben Shapiro and you cheer for him, or you get really, really annoyed by Ben Shapiro. Charlie Kirk was not like that. Charlie Kirk was the kind of guy that could knock down your bullshit in a conversation in front of 100 people, but you wouldn't feel like a dickhead after you sat down. See, that's Charlie Kirk's touch. That's the touch that these other folks who I'm mentioning, especially the more well-known people, and the ones that I'm about to get into talking about, they don't have that. They all have a more of a kind of make you feel stupid type of approach. And I ain't mad at it because it can be very entertaining. All right, Ben Shapiro can be very entertaining when he's clapping back at some idiot on a college campus and making them look dumb. It's funny, but at the same time, that ain't what Charlie Kirk was doing. Charlie Kirk was who he was because he didn't do that to people. Ben Shapiro does that to people all the time. He does it without even trying. That's the reason why Ben Shapiro is the kind of guy people want to punch in the face, because he does it without trying to do it. And Keena Vogt said Ben is very arrogant to me. See, he comes off as arrogant. He's not even trying to be. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. He's the kind of guy who's not trying to be arrogant, but people see him as arrogant because it's just his personality. His personality is he's just this guy. He can't control it. He's just very smart. He's very sharp of tongue. And when you say something dumb, he notices what you said was dumb. Instinctively, he knocks down your idiocy with his correctness. That's just who he is, and he can't help it. Ben Shapiro can't help it. And Laura said he's very abrasive. Yeah, that's what some say. And again, I don't think he's trying to be. I think it's just how he is. I've known people like Ben Shapiro. They can't turn it off. It's just how they were born that way. They are wired to be this type of person. And Danny said Ben was bullied. That's just who he is now. Is that true, or are you just saying that to be funny? But I think it's just his natural. It's just his natural personality. He has a space. Obviously, there's a lane for Ben Shapiro. All right. For those of you who don't know who Ben Shapiro is, let me show you his. All y'all know who Ben Shapiro is. Here's Ben, and all y'all know who he is. The guy's got 8 million followers on X, so it's not like he's some nobody. All right, there's a lane for him. Obviously, he got 8 million followers. But can he step in the Charlie spot? No, he can't. On top of the fact that he is strongly at odds with someone else who I'm going to mention in a moment. He and his company fired her from their platform, and that's an issue because she was very close to Charlie Kirk. We're going to get to her in a moment, but I got one other person we got to get to before that. Now, before that, let me talk a little bit more about Ben Shapiro. Ben, some people see him as too orthodox. He is very orthodox. Too academic. He is extremely academic. This is one of the reasons people would want to punch him in the face, because he is a very by-the-book person. And if you're wrong, he's going to point out that you're wrong. And he's going to point it out so clearly and cleanly that you can't even say anything back. And that frustrates people. People get annoyed with people like Ben Shapiro because he's too right too often, and he's too smug about being right. And that's a bad combination when you're trying to reach the masses. It's just a very difficult combination to have. Ben Shapiro probably knows this about himself. And speculations that he could occupy part of Kirk's space are natural, and he is trying. And he has the weight behind him that he's going to try. Now, whether he succeeds or not is a different story, but he's going to try. And right here. And this may limit his ability to replace Kirk's emotional pull among young religious conservatives. Yes, he's going to have a very tough time doing that. That's the reason why he can't do it. He can't do it because many conservatives in America are Christians, and there's a conflict right there. So movement potential depends as much on resonance as reputation. Can Ben resonate with an audience? Yes, but a certain audience. And Ben's reputation, again, a little bit too different from Charlie Kirk. They'd be a good combination, but not replacements for each other. Charlie cannot replace Ben, and Ben cannot replace Charlie. Next one, Mr. Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh, I actually like. I don't dislike Ben Shapiro, but I like Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh has this. He has this. What do we want to call it? He has this matter-of-fact style. Some people may say it's smug. Some may call him smug, but he's not smug the way Ben Shapiro is smug. Matt Walsh is smug in this deadpan type of way. He has this deadpan style of talking where you can tell he's making a joke, but he can make a joke without laughing. And to me, that's entertaining. I actually like the way Matt Walsh does what he does. When he did the What is a Woman documentary, I think it was really good. When he did the other one, what was the other one he did? He did one on What is a Woman. The other one I think was on like Am I Racist? That was it called? It was called Am I Racist? We did the Am I Racist documentary. That was good too. He has this ability to, again, he can say something to make you look or feel stupid, but he doesn't have a look on his face like he's trying to make you feel stupid. He can just do it with a straight face. Like he shows no expression whatsoever. To me, again, I find that entertaining. Not everybody likes that though, especially if you don't like what he's saying. You could be really pissed off by Matt Walsh's approach. and he has a certain brand, a certain style. Whereas Ben Shapiro's is generally always in the suit, and he's always buttoned up. Matt Walsh has on his what do you call it? He got his Pendletons on, he got his flannel shirts on, and he has his beard, and he just has this plain face, and he's making his arguments, and he just has this normal style that he's always doing. Now, he has a strong appeal amongst the socially conservative youth. Yes, he does. Very good with this. He is the socially conservative youth like Matt Walsh, especially after what he did with the racism thing, especially after what he did with the transgender thing. He works in that space. He works very well with men's identity. Matt Walsh is patriarchal. He is a conservative man, head of household with a bunch of kids and a wife, and he stands on that. There was a nice exchange he had on social media with the TATE brothers. I don't know if y'all saw that a few weeks ago, where they were arguing about, because Mr. AT over there in Romania, he's big on the make a bunch of money, have as many kids as you want, buy as many women as you want, don't marry any of them, and just have a bunch of women all over the place with your kids, and that's the way you're supposed to do it. Whereas Matt Walsh says the exact opposite: get one woman, have kids with just that woman, and just have that nuclear family. And there was a clash of ideas between Matt and Mr. AT and AT's brother, TT, and they were arguing about that whole thing. But Matt Walsh, I would generally think, probably would appeal to more conservative men in America with his approach than Mr. AT does with his approach. Now, Mr. AT got fans too. Y'all know what I'm talking about when I say that guy, right? Now, and also Mr. AT is not in America. So Matt Walsh would appeal more to the everyday conservative person in America, because in America, we've generally accepted man, woman, child as the household. And when that's not the case, we call it a broken home, meaning most people don't accept that as what it's supposed to be. The ideal is man, woman, child. So when that doesn't, in one house, when that doesn't happen, that's what we call, again, a broken home. Mr. AT is advocating for what we call broken homes. That's why it probably wouldn't appeal to the masses of men in America. So Matt Walsh would appeal. Issue is Matt Walsh is a little bit older. Matt Walsh is probably in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. Charlie Kirk was only 31. So Charlie Kirk could go talk on a college campus, and he doesn't seem that much different than the college kids, not that much older than them. And he didn't go to college himself. So they can relate to him a lot more than somebody like Matt Walsh. I don't know what Matt Walsh's collegiate background is, if he has one. But he's a little bit older, so it might be harder for him to reach that audience just because of his age and because of his life experience. He's already married. He's already got a bunch of kids. He already has his full career. He's already well established as a man. So it'll be a little bit harder. But he does have a loyal following. He is, in terms of religion, men's identity, his fight in the culture war, he is aligned with Charlie Kirk in many ways, has a loyal following. He has a bunch of clips that are going viral. He's got a bunch of material out there, and he has a strong visual presence. So if you see Matt Walsh, you would know it was Matt Walsh. That matters too, as with Ben Shapiro, as with Charlie Kirk. Now, the challenge with Matt Walsh is that he tends to double down on controversial and provocative content. He tends to go strong on certain points and alienate moderate conservatives. This is what Charlie Kirk didn't do. This is why Charlie Kirk was so unique in what he did. He was able to appeal to a broad swath of the conservative world because he could talk to the moderates, he could talk to the skeptics, and he could talk to the hardcore. And he has something for all of them, to where all of them could come together and say, okay, we can all agree with these points from Charlie Kirk. Thing with somebody like Ben Shapiro is that he has a niche audience that love him, but then he has a whole bunch of people who are going to hate him. Matt Walsh, the same thing. Matt Walsh is not a moderate. Matt Walsh is a hardcore conservative, and the moderate conservatives are not going to agree with all the things that Matt Walsh says. Matt Walsh is man, woman, child. Well, what about the men who can't really find the woman that they want to meet? They can't really get into the relationship they want to get into. There may be an issue there. Matt Walsh is, am I racist? He did that whole documentary. There are some moderate conservatives who might not be feeling that, and the way that he went about doing that, even though I think he had the right angle, I can look at that and not be offended by it. There are a lot of people who are offended by what he did, even though they're on the conservative side. So there's a ton of backlash against Matt Walsh just because of the positions that he's taken and the way he's gone about it. Similar to Ben Shapiro, similar to the one we're going to mention next, or I already mentioned. These three, between Candace, Matt, and Ben, they all have the same problem. The same problem is that when they are pointing out that somebody is wrong, they tend to do it in a way that they step on top of people. Charlie Kirk didn't step on top of people. Charlie Kirk would make make it clear that you were wrong, but not in a way that, again, you felt stupid or that you would be embarrassed or that it was a viral moment on you. Matt Walsh will get a viral moment on you. Ben Shapiro will definitely get a viral moment on you. And Candace Owens will get 2 viral moments on you. All right, that's what they do. And that works because it gets a lot of attention. The problem is, how are you going to reach the masses doing that? Because there are people in the masses who are going to see you do that to somebody else, and they're going to be turned off because they can see themselves having that happen to them. And they're like, all right, I don't want someone to do that to me, so I don't like the fact that Matt Walsh did it to him. All right, that's an issue. And again, this is the reason why Charlie Kirk was what he was, because he didn't do that to people, but he still got his point across. That's why it's a special mix. So at the same time, I don't have a problem with them doing it, but we're not talking about what I think. We are talking about what I think, but we're talking about what I think with regards to who could take Charlie Kirk's place. Last person we got to mention, Candace Owens. She's already been mentioned. Candace Owens offers crossover appeal. Candace Owens, let's see how many followers she has on X. I know I'm definitely following Candace Owens on X. That I am not in question about. She has 7 million followers on X. I think most of you know who Candace is. Here is Candace. Candace is probably in her mid-30s. She's probably maybe a few years younger than Matt Walsh. And she is married, and she has, I believe, 4 kids. I think I heard her say that in her latest episode. She has crossover appeal. Well-known, very media savvy. She can host large platforms. She's done it. She's very strong in political commentary. She jumps on trending conversations very well. She is very good at diving into the weeds of things. She's very good at getting into the details. She's basically an investigative journalist these days, and she's doing a bunch of investigative journalism on the death of Charlie Kirk right now. So if you haven't been listening to our podcast, I would suggest y'all go listen on Spotify. She's diving into the details of what we've been told, and she's not accepting the narrative. So the things that we've accepted as true, such as who the shooter was it the same person, the timeline of what happened and when it happened, the text messages, the note under the shooter's keyboard, the family of the transgender lover / roommate, boyfriend, whatever you want to call it. She's not buying any of it, and she's questioning all of it. So y'all should go listen to what she's saying. Candace Owens is very good with dissecting things that people are putting out there on top of, y'all know her whole thing about the saying that the president of France is married to a woman who's not actually a woman, and the lawsuit about all of that. She's very good at all this stuff. And she jumps on these conversations, and this could position her for leadership in the space. These are all positives about Candace Owens. She can pivot topics, harness controversy, and remain relevant. At the same time, some of these very strengths that Candace Owens has are also weaknesses when it comes to, could she take Charlie Kirk's spot? For one, she's black, as I already talked about. You're not going to get a whole bunch of white people to jump onto a movement following behind what a black person tells them to do. It's not going to happen. Secondly, she's a female. We already talked about that. She's not going to be, just on those 2 points, she can't take Charlie Kirk's spot. But a positive for her is that she was very close to Charlie Kirk. I didn't even know about Candace Owens until, first time I heard about her was when Kanye West tweeted about her and said, I love the way Candace Owens thinks. I'd never heard of Candace Owens before he said that. I might have maybe saw the name but never looked into it, didn't know who she looked like. But when he said that, that's when everybody started looking at Candace Owens. But at that time, she was already active. And according to what she said, and she documented this in an episode she did on her show maybe last week, she was working with Charlie Kirk. Her and Charlie were working together since like 2016, 2017. And they would go on tour together, and they did, according to her, hundreds or thousands of events together. And they were like a 1-2 punch, going at people and letting people come up and argue with them, et cetera, et cetera. So she was very close to Charlie Kirk. And that's one of the reasons why she's taking it so personally, what happened to him and the story. And she's trying to get to the bottom of it. And she says, I'm never letting this go until I get the actual answers, because she was very close to Charlie Kirk. And amongst all these people who I mentioned, she was closer to him amongst the known people, the influencer level people. She was closer to him than any of these other folks that I mentioned. So she is carrying that torch, but she's not trying to replace Charlie. And she probably knows, for the same reasons that I'm saying and I'm going to say, she couldn't replace Charlie. Another challenge with Candace Owens is that Candace, similar to Ben Shapiro, is that she has this ability to make somebody look and feel stupid when they make a point that is actually stupid. Again, like Ben Shapiro. Now, Ben does it in a nerdy type way. Candace does it in a more feminine way, but it's still a way that pushes people off. People still get pissed off at her for the way that she does it. Candace, I've watched enough of her stuff as opposed to Ben. See, if Ben, you're saying something stupid to Ben Shapiro, he just waits for you to finish talking, then he destroys you like within 1 second of you stopping speaking. Candace Owens, if you're saying something dumb and and she believes that it's dumb, you can see it on her face because she can't hide it. She'll start to like stifle a laugh or bite her lip because she's trying to stop laughing before she knocks down the bullshit that you say. I've seen enough of her debates to know that that's what she does. And that can piss people off, especially if what she says ends up being right. And then you feel dumb and it's like she's embarrassing me and making fun of me. And people don't like that. People just get turned off by that. Not everybody, not me. I find it entertaining. But again, we're not talking about what I personally think. It's about could she replace Charlie Kirk? And for this reason, amongst the others that I've already said, she cannot. On top of the fact that she is already at odds with Ben Shapiro, which means anybody who likes Ben Shapiro or is on that Daily Wire side, and they're a heavy platform, they're not going to support Candace Owens. So what's going to happen here is it's about to be this Game of Thrones is what's about to happen. There's an empty throne, Charlie Kirk's throne, and there's about to be a battle amongst all these people for the throne, and some of them don't even like each other, let alone are they liked by the masses. So that's why this is going to be a thing. It will be good for us because this will create great content when they start going at each other, and they're going to go at each other. And Candace and Ben Shapiro already don't like each other. That's clear. That's out in the open. They already know. And there are several other names who I haven't mentioned here. I can't mention every single person. But Candace is polarizing, as I already said. She's polarizing for the fact that, first of all, a lot of black people don't even like her because she is a black conservative. They don't like her just because she's a black conservative with no regards for what she's actually saying. Just the fact that she's conservative and black people don't like. There are black people who don't like her. There are white people who don't like her because they're liberal. There are women who don't like her because she's conservative. There are women who don't like her because she just did the book called Make Him a Sandwich, which is all about basically espousing the patriarchy and knocking down the concepts of feminism. So a lot of women don't like her because of that. So Candace got a lot of people who don't like her for a whole bunch of different reasons. People got a list of reasons why they don't like Candace Owens. Right now, she has become more and more verbally going after and verbally opposing Israel. So Ben Shapiro and people like Ben Shapiro really don't like her because of that. She is claiming that the president of France is in a relationship with a woman that's not a woman. So a bunch of people don't like her because of that. A bunch of people are saying she's a conspiracy theorist because that's what they call investigative journalists until they get proven right. They say it's a conspiracy until whatever you said gets actually proven true. This whole France situation, people are saying is a conspiracy theory. Why does anybody care? As soon as people start throwing out, why do you care? That's because you're hot on the trail they don't want you to be on. And we'll see how that lawsuit ends up working out. So Candace got a lot of people who really don't like her for certain reasons, but then a lot of people who really do like her for the same reasons. This is a great way to build a brand, by the way. So these are not negatives. The same things I said about Matt and Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens that are negatives are the same reasons why they are who they are. They have audiences because of the same reasons that people hate them, people love them. This is a great way to build a brand because a whole bunch of people don't like you, a whole bunch of people do like you. Because if people have a strong feeling about you one side or another, there's probably an opposite energy. Look at somebody like Donald Trump. Donald Trump couldn't replace Charlie Kirk. He has a bigger audience than Charlie Kirk, but he cannot replace Charlie Kirk. Why? Because, again, none of them have this touch. This guy had a touch that other people don't have. And that polarization can limit any type of unifying potential. Now, I didn't mention everybody. There are a whole bunch of other people. Some people may think someone like, and I'm generally looking at people who are generally younger, who trend younger. I don't know how old Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh are. Let me see if I can find out. Ben Shapiro, I'm trying to find out his age. He's born in 1984. So Ben Shapiro is, what's that, 41? So Ben Shapiro is 41. He's a little bit on the high side in terms of age. He's not going to hit just because of his age. Matt Walsh was born in 1986. So he's 39. So he's still also on the high side. And then Candace Owens, I believe, she may be a year or two younger than Matt Walsh. She was she was also born in 1989. She's actually a little bit older than Matt Walsh. So what does that make her? 89, 36? 36. So all these people are a little bit too old to reach that youth audience. You need somebody about 30 or younger. I don't know who that person is. Now, there is one other person whose name I have not mentioned. And he is claiming that he wants to take the spot. Anybody know that guy's name? Y'all can't say his actual name in the comments because he's actually banned on TikTok. But y'all know who I'm talking about. There's a person who's banned on TikTok. Someone said Brandon Tatum. No, not Brandon Tatum. Brandon Tatum's good, but he's not in the running. Yes. Cure fans, Nick. His first name is Nick. And some are saying Milo. No, not Milo. I haven't really listened to a ton of Milo. I got to get into him because a bunch of you have been asking me about him the last couple of days. I know who he is. I am following Milo on. I know I'm following him on X. I just started following him not too long ago. So Milo is on X. His name is Nero, Nero. This guy. Now people are trying to say that he was gay. Is he gay? Is Milo gay? Some people are saying it. They were saying it like they were talking bad about him, but I don't know if they were saying it because he actually is, or is he not, or what. Someone said yes, and then someone said not anymore. Is he open? He's openly gay. That's what I'm asking. Mechanic said he's gay, Jewish, and married to. Is that true? I didn't know it was true. Okay, so he is. Okay, I didn't know. So, and then he has some posts about it. Then, but it says right here, if Milo, this is on his X, his pinned comment says this. If Milo Yiannopoulos can stop being gay, then you can do anything, absolutely anything. Start something impossible today. So is this a joke or what? What is he doing? Is he trolling? What is that? What does that mean? Is he or isn't he? I don't know. I gotta read into his. Some people on X. There's some people on X. I'll just go to their profile and just read through the stuff that they say because it's interesting. So Mr. AT over there in Romania, he's one of those people. Milo is one of those people. I'm gonna put him on my list. Megan Kelly's one. Candace Owens is one, and this guy who I was about to talk about, Mr. Nick. His last name starts with the letter F. You cannot put his full name in the comment on TikTok. He is literally banned on TikTok. I can't say his name on TikTok. He is a guy who is saying he's going to take the throne. Now, Nick, one good thing about him is, first of all, he has his own movement. And I doubt I can even say the name of his movement. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get crossways with TikTok right now. So he has his own movement. They are young. They are white. They are males. They are very, very, very plugged into him as a person. He has just as much clout with his audience as Charlie had with his, albeit for a different reason. Nick is, although Nick is similar to Ben Shapiro and Candace, he is abrasive. He has an abrasive style. He has a very, tribal approach. This is the challenge that he has. He has a very tribal approach. I saw that there was an interview between Candace and Milo. I haven't listened to it yet, but I will. It got hijacked by this Charlie Kirk situation, but I will catch up on that one. Milo did an interview with Candace Owens where they're talking about this. I guess I'm going to listen to that, but again, the Charlie Kirk situation bumped it off my list. Nick has an audience, and if one person is going to become the popular young-ish white guy leading white men right now, the closest person is Nick. He's the closest right now, like it or not. You don't have to like him. You don't have to like that reality. He's the closest right now. And some say he's too far right. Yeah, he is very far right. The thing is, though, he has the biggest audience. He has the biggest audience with the most. If you combine audience plus activation with your audience, he's in the lead right now. If there was a race, he's winning. Right now, he's winning. Again, you don't have to like that, but it's a reality. Now, can he replace Charlie Kirk? No, because he doesn't have a personality. And he's already said enough things that he can't walk back stuff that he's already said. But his audience is conservative, very white, and very male. That's his audience. Much of very conservative, very white, very male, nationalists. And he's claiming Christianity, I believe. Nick is claiming Christianity, not in the way Charlie Kirk did it. And there are questions about, is Nick attracted to women? There are questions. I don't know if the questions are based on anything real or not. There are questions as to who's funding him. Again, all these things kind of come up with people once they start to get known. Again, all of these go against where Charlie Kirk was at. But we can't deny the man's known. We can't deny the man has impact. Because again, you can't even say his name on TikTok. You get to the point you can't say somebody's name on TikTok. They've had a ton of impact in a way that there are powers that be that really don't want that person to have impact. That's the truth. There's only one other person who hit that level, and that was the guy over in Romania. Only two people hit that level. You can't say their name on TikTok. And there's a reason. Everybody else's name I can say. Candace Owens, Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro said their names. No problem. Over and over again. Can't say his name for a reason. Because his audience is activated. That's the key, folks. It's not even the number of people. It's the activation. These people are super duper bought into this guy's message. And again, you can ignore that at your own peril. I have listened to a few of his talks, Mr. Nick. he's on Rumble because he's banned from like every other app. So the only place you can listen to him is on Rumble. And let me pull him up on Rumble because I want to see what he's been saying lately. Because he canceled his episode. He was supposed to do an episode the day that Charlie Kirk passed, but he said, due to Charlie Kirk's passing, I'm not going to do an episode today. And then he does these super long live streams sometimes. He did a 4.5-hour live stream last night about Trump allegedly banning Antifa and Kimmel. I heard about that. I was going to talk about that today, but I decided to go more into Charlie Kirk. Then he's debunking a conspiracy about his movement. I'm not even going to say the name of his movement. Then he does an episode on Charlie Kirk. It came out a day ago. Then another one. Then another one. So he's talked about Charlie Kirk a lot, which is normal. Then he just talks about world news. That's what he does. But he's talked about black murders. And yeah, he goes really, really hard. He is unapologetic in his approach. And that's one of the reasons why he has the audience that he has. All that said, everybody, let's get into the commentary. I'm not going to take a restroom break today. We got to get done by 9:55. So we got about 32 minutes here before we need to go. And because I got a call coming up right at 10 o'clock on the dot. Craig Ryan said, what about Will Witt? I don't know who Will Witt is, so he didn't make my list today. Doesn't mean he doesn't matter, but he didn't make my list. And anybody whose name I didn't say, they still had a potential because sometimes not even a person we're thinking about who becomes the person. It does need to be a man. They do need to be white. They do need to be under the age of 35. I will say that. You got to be a white man under the age of 35. If they're not white and male and under 35, they're not eligible. Soul Art New York said Trump supporters had to be closeted. They let their voices speak at the ballot box. Yes, and that's the reason why what TPUSA, what the movement has been receiving since Charlie Kirk's death, that's why it matters. Shaw said, I've been watching since the overseas videos back on YouTube. That's what's up, Shaw 30. Good to see you in here. Crespo said, it has to be a man, needs to be conservative. Yes. It has to be a conservative and a white man. It needs to be a conservative white man. Soul Art said, I agree with this. I don't think he should be replaced, but if someone else steps up, it should be a man. It must be a man. Kylie said, especially faith-based conservatives. Yes. Soul Art said, not girly. Ben has less patience. On top of the fact he's not a Christian. That is going to make it worse. Crespo said, I find it entertaining. Me too. Players coach, what's going on, my dude? Soul Art said, Milo is not anymore. He said on Candace Owens' show, he's not married with children, so his reach will still be limited. On top of the fact that he was gay, but he's not gay, and how's that going to work with a bunch of staunch conservatives? I don't know about that one. I think Milo can be a contributor. I don't think he can ever be all the way in. It's kind of like a black person can be a contributor to the mafia, but you can't ever actually join. You can't actually be a made person. P. Fault said, why should we not trust Kansas? I didn't say that. You're asking a straw man question. I like Candace Owens. I listen to damn near every episode of her show. So I didn't say don't trust Candace. I said she could not replace Charlie Kirk. First of all, because she's female. Secondly, because she's black. Third, because she's a little bit too abrasive when she debates with people. She can be a little bit too make you feel stupid-ish. Charlie Kirk didn't make people feel stupid even when he knocked down their stupid arguments. That's, again, there's nobody who fits that description. All these people whose names I said, Nick, Candace, Ben, Matt, they all have the flaw that they will knock down your bullshit by making you feel like it was bullshit. But Charlie Kirk would knock down your bullshit by not making you feel dumb. So somebody has to have that touch. Who's that person? That's the problem. Shannon Wilson, thanks for the follow. So we got about 30 minutes here, folks. Then we are wrapping this up. Hard stop today. Danny said, Ben doesn't like her because she doesn't support. Yes, Ben doesn't like anybody who doesn't support Israel on every single issue, Danny. It ain't just Candace Owens. It's anybody. I understand him. And I actually respect that he is standing on his point. I don't know why he's standing on the point. Actually, I know why. I would say now there's nuance to it. I mean, he knows more about the history than I do. But you're correct. What you said is correct. Joe A1018, thanks for the follow. Nicole K said a lot of people, including CK, think Dean Withers is going to shift to the right. If so, now if Dean Withers shifts to the right, that would be very interesting. Dean is some young white kid. He's probably like 22. He's like a college kid. But he's always trying to debate people. That's the only place I see Dean Withers. He's always trying to debate somebody. I think he was always trying to debate Charlie Kirk. Now, Charlie Kirk's dead, so I don't know who Dean's going to try to debate now since Charlie Kirk's not alive anymore. Irma said Candace. No, not a fan of Candace. Danny, you're correct. And there's a reason for that. Ben Shapiro, he's standing on his religion. Fine, fair enough if that's what you want to do. Tay Gunner asked me thoughts on the Jimmy Kimmel show. I was going to maybe talk about that today, but we're still on this Charlie Kirk thing. So we might get to the Jimmy Kimmel thing tomorrow. Jimmy Kimmel, for those you don't hear, his show got pulled off ABC because of his comment about Charlie Kirk. I think it was an accumulation of things Jimmy has done, and this was just the last straw. Jimmy Kimmel has been going so hard at trying to go at MAGA ever since Trump came in. He got to the point of not being funny anymore and just trying too hard to be taken seriously. That's when you lose the plot. When you're a funny guy and then you start trying to be serious, that's when you lose the plot. That's what we talked about. We talked about Howard Stern a couple weeks ago. Howard Stern is a funny guy, but then he started trying to be taken seriously because he wanted people to know how serious he was about not liking Donald Trump. Problem is, fine if that's how you really feel, but I don't tune into your show to be lectured. I tune into your show to laugh. And you want to be too serious too often. Now you're not giving me what I asked for. Jimmy Kimmel tried too hard to get serious about Donald Trump. Like, dude, just make jokes. That's what you do. Make jokes. You can make one or two serious comments, then get back to telling jokes. And he lost the plot. He dropped the ball. So he deserved what he got. Not necessarily because of that comment, but just overall. Salty Heifer Studio said he had compassion and love for everyone, and that was rare. You talking about Charlie Kirk? Yeah, so Matt Walsh, 39. How all y'all know that he was 39? Mom said, too old to do what CK was doing. You need somebody who's younger. You need somebody who's like 30-ish. 30. Charlie Kirk was 31, but he was doing it since he was like 21. So that's the reason why even as he got older, he still had credibility because he was always connected to that youth audience. Whereas these other people, they tend to talk to adults. So you need somebody who's always been talking to the young people or is a younger person. When I say young, I mean like under 25. Either you always been talking to them or you actually are one of them. Sharon said, how about that toddler fit she threw the other day when she had the floor? Who are you talking about? Who? We had 100K likes. Thank you, everybody. Angela Rossett said, Candace is growing and evolving. I pray she finds her niche. I think Candace already found her niche. Her niche is being Candace Owens. That is the niche. Nicole K said, I'm telling you, give Dean Withers 6 months, he'll be on the right. That'd be interesting if he is. Now, that would be very useful for the political right if he does. Yes, Mr. NF, I cannot say his name on X. The other day, people were saying his name, but they wouldn't even let the comment come through. They were TikTok itself was blocking the comment of even saying his name. Nathan said Riley Gaines. Riley Gaines is a possible challenge with Riley Gaines. First of all, she's a woman. Secondly, Riley's credibility is going to be questioned because she only became known through her event when she was swimming in the national championships and swimming against a man who was posing as a woman. And the man and her tied. And then the man got the photo op, and then they mailed her the medal, and she got into the game because of that. So people are going to challenge it and saying, well, you're only in the game because you were a swimmer and you happen to be in a race against this guy. And people try to say, well, you came in fifth. Well, she came in fifth in the national championship. So you can't bash her for coming in fifth. She came in fifth in the nation is still pretty damn good. But the challenge is, what is your credibility for being in the political conversation? That is going to be a challenge against her, on top of the fact that she's a woman. It has to be a man. I will say again, it must be a man. Roseanne said, NF is horrible. I understand. I understand what you're saying. And his last name, yeah, his full name is definitely censored. So that's the issue with him. I said Milo is very much a provocateur. Well, of course. I mean, if he was gay and now he's not anymore, that's not going to fly with conservatives. So he can be a contributor. He can never be the person because he was. So some saying he was gay and he's saying he's not gay anymore. What the hell does that even mean? It doesn't even. Again, he can't get on the conservative side all the way and move crowds. He can't do that. People say he converted. Okay. He has a black boyfriend. Yeah. Who the hell? All right. So we can't even agree what this guy is. So he ain't the guy. The whole point is Milo is not the guy. He can contribute, but he's not going to be the guy. Courtney, yes, I need to listen to that episode. So a couple of you mentioned that episode. I didn't listen to that one yet. I'm going to listen to it. Victoria said, what about Erica Kirk? She will be a contributor. That's Charlie Kirk's wife, ex-wife, well, wife, I guess wife still. She will be a contributor. She can't be the person because, again, she's a woman. She can contribute and stand behind whoever does step up, but she's not going to be the main person. It needs to be a man. Yeah, I don't think he's Christian. No, he's not Christian. All right, so how do y'all? So many of you know so much about this Milo thing. How did he get so popular? Alician said, "Why is he banned?" Because of the stuff that he says. Go listen to him on Rumble. Listen to a few of his episodes on Rumble. You'll understand why he's banned. Same thing with Mr. AT. They're both banned for the same reason. Is that they're very strong and solid in what they say, meaning they very much believe what they say. They become very hyperbolic in what they say for emphasis, and a bunch of people are listening to it. You need all three. You got to be very strong in what you believe. You got to use hyperbole to make your point, and you got to get a bunch of people to believe you. And that's when you get banned. If you use nuance, you won't get banned. See, I'll say things. I have things I believe, but I can explain them with nuance. So I'm not going to get banned. But if I was to get really hyperbolic and like really eccentric in certain points, and I got a bunch of people to believe it, then I can end up getting myself banned. Or actually, I would just get suspended a bunch of times on TikTok is what would happen. PLP Senior, thanks for the follow. Carl says, Nick a Christian. He claims to be. Monica said, that guy is rude. Well, a lot of people think so. Call Me King said, Nick is in his bag right now. I think that's true. I would have to agree with that. He is in his bag. Very much in his bag. Angela said, I can never respect Mario after hearing his rhetoric from previous years. See, that's the issue with a lot of these people. A lot of them have that same frame can be applied to damn near every person I mentioned here today. Who am I talking about? We're talking about everybody right now. We're kind of talking about a whole bunch of people at the same time. MGD said, Nick is more polarizing than all the others combined. That is true. He is. The only person he's not more polarizing than is Mr. AT over there in Romania. But everybody else he hasn't put together. You are correct. Josephine said, you never heard of Nick? Look him up on Rumble. Jasmine said, how would you describe your style? My style? I'm more nuanced. See, I'll tell you one side, what I'm thinking. I'll tell you the counter argument to my very position. And then I'll tell you why I think my position is right. But I don't get so hyperbolic as to completely bash the head in of someone who's thinking opposite. I could do that, but I don't do that. I try to give a balanced perspective so people understand both sides of the conversation and why I may fall on one side or the other side. So I say my side, I try to be objective. I try to be logical. I try to be nuanced and balanced in what I say, even though I will make clear what my position is if I have one. Danny says, this episode about black fatigue got him noticed. Well, he was being noticed long before that, Danny. The black fatigue one went viral, but he was noticed way before that. Carmen, thanks for the follow. Genghis said Michael Knowles. I've heard of Michael Knowles, but I don't know what his age bracket is, and I haven't heard enough of his stuff. Mamie McGee, thanks for the follow. Jane said, who are you speaking about? Right now, we're speaking about who can replace Charlie Kirk, and we're talking about a whole bunch of different people who I've mentioned here today. Mainly people that people are commenting on right now are Nick F., whose name I cannot say, Candace Owens, and Ben Shapiro. Those are the three, and Milo. These are basically the four names that people are commenting on. I'm just responding to the comments right now. Kat said his audience is a cult. They are a cult. I mean, that's why he gave him a name. But a cult is not necessarily a bad thing, Kat. Having an audience that's a cult is actually a very powerful thing if you can leverage it. Josephine said, as a conservative, I've never heard of him. Seems like he's too crazy for me by the comments. Josephine, I would suggest you listen to him yourself and draw your own conclusion. He can be kind of extra. Nick goes a little bit extra, but I would not make a conclusion, Josephine, based on what people say in the comments. I would never do that. I would go listen and see what he says and then figure out what you think about him. Carl said he doesn't show it. Yeah. Well, he claims it every now and then. See, he doesn't wear it on his sleeve. Charlie Kirk wore it on his sleeve. And that's why it worked with conservatives, because people who are actual Christians and trying to be Christian on their Christian walk, they appreciated that Charlie was out in the open on it and say, hold me accountable to that. Nick picks and chooses. And that's a problem. See, if you pick and choose, then the people who don't pick and choose are not going to be feeling you. Alex said, need someone in the middle of the brain, both sides together like Dem and Rep used to be in the 80s. Alex, you are correct. But is that going to happen? I don't know. Shan said, who even are you? It's interesting wording. Shan, my name is Dre Baldwin. Nice to meet you. Tam said, who? What question are you asking about? Nicole said, don't sleep on Dean Withers. He has the it factor and can influence younger people. I don't think Dean has the it factor, but I do think he can influence younger people. He doesn't quite have an it factor. He's not quite that. Dan said Nick is for entertainment. I wouldn't put him on the list. Well, he got to be mentioned because he has a more activated audience than all these other people. Maybe the only other person whose audience is as activated as Nick is Ben Shapiro's, but for a different reason. Nick has his audience activated just because of what he says. Ben's audience is activated because of the religion that he practices and that he rides for that religion. Renee said Milo's coming out of retirement. How long was he retired? I didn't know he was retired. But how long was he out? Anastasia said all the people mentioned above are either too controversial or problematic. Yeah, on some level they all are. That's why I offered that argument for every single one of them. There are mitigating factors. Lynn Say Love said God used him, is using him, will continue to in years to come. Who are you talking about? Carla said, thank God, I think Erica has more sense than that. Well, Erica's not really making this call. It's really going to be who the people choose. I don't know if none of these people I mentioned can be the person for the reasons that I've stated. James Eaton and Arinda VK, thanks for the follow. His last name starts with the F, Shan. Look him up on Rumble. You can't find him on these other platforms because he's been banned on every platform. He's on X. Actually, he's on X. I'll show y'all him on X. So y'all can a bunch of you are asking Nick who. Y'all don't know who this guy is. But if you listen to him, you won't forget. So here he is right here. That's him. His last name starts with the F. Look him up on Rumble. That's where his stuff is. I can't keep showing his name because TikTok's AI censors might see it and kick me off even showing it. He has 900,000 followers on X. He is a Christian nationalist. In his own bio, he's got an American flag and Christ is King. So that's Christian nationalist. He's a young white guy, probably 26, 27. He is Christian. He is nationalist. And he is all about white men. He makes no bones about it. That guy. So look him up. Listen to him yourself. See what you think. The OG McCoy said he can't even be on social media. He definitely won't make it. OG McCoy, I would not be so fast with that comment right there.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Let's remember when Mr. AT got kicked off social media, he got bigger. And when Mr. Nick got kicked off, his most popular run was like the last 3 to 4 weeks. And he's not on a bunch of these apps because he got kicked off. People will find you if the message is strong enough. Yeah, I know he was on Candace Owens' show. Maid said, are you Republican or Democrat? That's a false binary.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
I'm neither. I'm not Republican nor Democrat. I have no affiliation to any political party. Jackie said, what about Obama? What about him? That ginger girl said, conservatives don't like Dean. Even if he was conservative, he can't debate. I don't know if people don't like. If he went to the right, there's a bunch of people who like him just because he's on the right. Matt LeBlanc said, how about you? Well, first of all, I'm not white. Secondly, I'm not Christian. And third, I would have to pledge allegiance to the Republican Party in order to take that spot. So only one of those that is possible. Well, 2 of them are possible. I can't become white. Shan said, why do they need to be white? Because you're trying to persuade a bunch of white men. You need a white man to persuade white men in the masses. I'm not saying a black person can't persuade a couple of white men, but if you want to persuade the masses of white men, you need a white man to do it. That's just how it works. It's just human nature. You can't send a black man to persuade a mass of white men. That's not going to happen. Karina said it need to be an evangelical Christian. Yes, they do. If you're going to replace Charlie Kirk, you got to be who Charlie Kirk was. Not necessarily, down to the letter, but he was a Christian. He was patriarchal. He was married. He had kids, and he was white. And he had been talking to the youth for a long time. So he had credibility with them. So you need somebody who checks all those boxes. You can't just jump into it and then say you're going to take Charlie Kirk's spot. Can't do that. We got 13 minutes here, folks, and we're wrapping this one up. Tammy Paredes, thank you for the follow. OG McCoy says someone needs to bring the right and the left together. Yeah, it's a good idea. I don't know if I see that happening. Good idea, though. Let's see. Someone says Stephen A. Smith. No, Stephen A. Smith has no chance. It would not be Stephen A. Smith. Where was I? I lost my spot in the comments. I'm not gonna get through all these comments here today. So no, there's nothing personal if I don't get your comment. Mel said, wouldn't it be better if a black man replaced him? No, it would not be better. And I'm black. No, it would not be better. Why? Because you're not going to get the masses of white men to follow a movement led by a black man, not based on who Charlie was. That's not going to happen. And I'm saying this as a black person myself. We got to be pragmatic about this, folks. Pragmatism means looking at the situation as it is, and you would have to do what works based on what was working. You can't just go throw something out there and say just because the person is different that is going to work the same way. It worked because Charlie was Charlie. So you need somebody who's as close to Charlie as you can get. A black person is not that close to Charlie. That ain't going to work. Mel, thanks for the follow. Live Bold said, why can't the person be black? I think it would be awesome. Well, Live Bold, you thinking it would be awesome doesn't mean it's going to work. Those are two different things. The reason they can't be black, I say this for the 10th time here today, is that you're trying to persuade a whole bunch of white men. A whole bunch of white men are not going to get behind a movement led by a black guy that is based on conservatism, America first, and Christianity. It's just not going to happen. And if so, who's the black person? Who's it going to be? Cassandra Kardswinski, thank you for the follow. I'm skimming through the comments, folks. I can't read every comment. We're not going to have enough time. That ginger girl said, Dean is not authentic. Conservatives will see right through that. Well, it depends on what he's saying. Stephen A. Smith, hell no. Someone say me replace Charlie Kirk? No. I don't talk to kids that age that often. First of all, I'm not really for going and debating with people on things like this. Second of all, I am not a staunch Christian. Third of all, I'm not white. Fourth of all, so no, I am not eligible for this position. Cha, thanks for the follow. Jane said, why can't we say Nick's name? You got to ask TikTok about that. I can't answer that question. It will not be Officer Tatum. Officer Tatum is black. Kat said, Milo got banned from Twitter at one point. Yeah, I mean, everybody got banned from Twitter at one point. Gina Babb said, I'm a first timer, 61 years old. I'm now a follower. I appreciate it. Thank you. Pete Fraud said, why does it have to be a man? Well, I don't know if you're a man or not, but if I'm as a man, I'm not getting behind a movement that's led by a woman. I'm not doing it. I'm saying it as a man myself. I will get behind a movement led by a man. I'm not getting behind a movement led by a woman. Does that make me? What does that make me? Does that make me? What's the word they say? Misogynistic? If so, okay, then I guess I'm misogynist. She will have a big impact, Erica, but it still needs to be a man. Nicole K, thanks for the follow. Dylan Clemens, thanks for the follow. That rifleman said, I don't know what you're referring to there. Dennis on YouTube said, anyone but Ben Shapiro. All right, I got the rest of your comment. I can't read that all out, but I get what you're saying. Seth Purcell said, Milo was huge like 10 years ago. He was bullied into retirement. He had a huge following. See, I didn't know that. So I guess a bunch of you knew that. I did not know about him. He wasn't on my radar. Liv Bowl said, I think a young black man would be epic. All right. I mean, a young black man would be good to get black people to get into the conservative movement, but are they going to get the people that Charlie Kirk was reaching? Absolutely not. And Monica said, they took out a great debater. I miss him very much. I agree. Murphy said, Tucker Carlson too old? Yes, he's too old. He can still be effective at what he does. Tucker's great at what he does. But to reach the audience that Charlie was reaching, you need somebody who's in that age bracket. You need somebody in Charlie's age bracket. Renee Allison, call me King Human. Libra too cute. Thanks for the follows. Havo Kin Chaos. I think young conservative male Christian personally don't think race matters as much. Yeah, well, I mean, we say that, but let's see the black person step up and take Charlie's spot. Let's see who that is. Let's see who that is. I think it may be someone new, the ginger girl said. Yeah, I think so too. It's not going to be any of the people I listed here today. These are the prominent names I considered, but it's going to be somebody who we don't know. Slick, thanks for the follow. Nana say, whoever replaces him needs to be a real Christian. See, there you go. I agree with that. Mark Gonzalez, MMA, said, I really enjoy your perspective in your live. Thank you. So I see a bunch of you asking why it needs to be a man. I've explained it a bunch of times now. I think all of you heard it, those of you asking. Freedom Rider said, Nick has good ideas. He doesn't align with my Christian values. I understand. I understand. I bet you're right about that. Erica said, maybe you should step up and take over. No, I'm not taking over anything. No, he's not in that space. Nathan said, Dean has an ick factor. You see, a lot of people don't like his personality. For somebody, Katarina said, for somebody, and when he's done working for them, he's coming back. Who are you talking about? So Milo was in retirement for a decade? I didn't know that. Yeah, so I never heard of Milo till now. Benny Johnson. Tay Gunner says, Stephen A. Smith, if he became a full Republican. No, not Stephen A. Smith. First of all, Stephen A. Smith, black. Secondly, he's like 50-something years old. Third, if he became a full Republican, he's still going to have to answer several questions, like why was he bashing Kyrie Irving for not taking the jab? He worked for ESPN, which means he was taking Disney money for a long time. He has been flying the flag and waving the flag of the LGBTQ by proxy by working for Disney. Stephen A. Smith is completely ineligible. And he's just not believable. On top of the fact, Stephen A. Smith is just not that knowledgeable of a person on top of that. He's good at sounding like he has conviction, but does he actually know things? The answer is no, he doesn't. So, no. Stephen A. Smith, no. You watch too much ESPN. Debatable AF said, did you just say it shouldn't be a woman? Yes, I've said that like 10 times. It will not be a woman. It will be a man. P. Flaw says, so you wouldn't get behind your mother? No, I would not. I'm a patriarch. The societies are built, advanced, and protected by men, and when they are destroyed is also by men. So no, I would not get behind a movement led by my mother. No. Session said, didn't Steven Crowder do something similar? Something like what? Retired again, thanks for the share. Kim, thanks for the follow. Loris Pillman, thanks for the follow. Heather Lorraine Gamblin, thanks for the follow. CGJ said, what is a real Christian? I was reading a comment somebody else said. Someone who is actively Christian, openly Christian, and they're doing things that even if you hold them accountable publicly, they are aligning with Christian principles. That's what I would say a quote-unquote real Christian is. SCFU said, you blocked me for questioning you. I just got in and didn't hear your reason. I didn't block anybody. I don't do any blocking on here. And I told my moderators, everybody who's in here right now heard me tell the moderators at the beginning of this live, don't mute or block anybody for challenging me. So nobody blocked you. And if I blocked you, how are you leaving a comment? Black Scorpio said, why do we need someone to take his place? Because what he was doing was very important for the conservative political side, and they need to keep that movement going. So someone or a group of someone's needs to keep the momentum going that he created. That's what I'm saying. Not that any one person is going to do it. Robin Wanderer, thanks for the follow. Beverly said, I got your book the third day, haven't read it yet. All right, great. Well, when this live is over, you can start reading it. Read the first chapter. Quay VVX said, are you a lawyer? No, I just play one on TikTok. P. Flaw said, and crumbling by men like you just stated, how does that make sense to you? Because any movement by a society is done by men. If a society is built, it's by men. If it's destroyed, it's by men. If it's advanced, it's by men. If it's defended, it's by men. Nothing that women do are going to make that type of impact on the society unless men allow it. So P. Flaw, and I'm hoping that you're a woman making these comments, but that's the reality. Name any society that was built or destroyed by a woman or by women in general. There's not one you can name. Women contribute, but it only happens if men allow it. If men say that's not happening, women cannot push through an idea over top of the objections of men. Men can push an idea or a initiative over the objection of women. Women cannot do the same thing to men. And that was decreed by your creator, not by me. I didn't make that up. If you read the first chapter of the Bible, you don't have to be a Christian. I'm not. I read the first chapter of the Bible. God created man. Then he created woman to be a helpmeet to the man. And when the woman messed up, the first thing God did was address the man, even though the woman is the one who messed up. Why? Because the man's in charge. Again, I didn't make that up. That was done by your creator. You talk to your creator about that. It's not my idea. Carlos said a woman cannot lead a patriarch movement. Correct. And a bunch of men are not going to get behind a movement led by a woman. It's just a reality. There are some women who can accept this, and there's some women who choose not to. I understand some of you have been poisoned by feminism, but this is the reality of life, in case any of you didn't know. Team TNT, thanks for the follow. James said the biblical definition of a real Christian is indwelled with the Holy Spirit. All right, there you go. Whit Michelle, thanks for the follow. Samantha said, do you think Barron Trump could be a replacement? I don't know. I haven't even heard him talk. Jackie said, how Michelle Obama? What about Michelle Obama? Whit Michelle said, I completely agree. Thank you. CJG said, the Turkish Women's Army, I believe. I can be wrong. There is no army that has built or taken or controlled a society that was run by women. Not one. No army, no country, no society. None. I don't know where you got that one from, but that didn't happen. That did not happen. So, Jelly Roll. Who's Jelly Roll? A lot of people mentioned Jelly Roll. All right, we got like 1 more minute here, folks. So let me tell you all. I'll tell you about the Mirror of Motivation, the self-guide to self-discipline. You can get this book for free. Just go to mirrorofmotivation.com or send me a text. Text me at the word live. Text me the word live, L-I-V-E. My number, 305-384-6894. 305-384-6894. Send a text to that number. That number's in my bio on TikTok. Send a text to that number with the word live, L-I-V-E. I'll send you back a link. It'll be, of course, an auto response. We'll send you back a link with a page that has links to all the books you can get for free. You can get this one for free by going to mirrorofmotivation.com. And when you text me, you'll be in my texting community. I send out a weekly motivation text every Monday, daily motivation text every morning. You want to get either of those texts, be in my community. My number, 305-384-6894. I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. We usually go from about 8 to 10. I got a call coming up at 10, so we're going to stop this one momentarily. And what else am I going to say? Usually it's a current event, so we talk about whatever's going on. So for the last week, this has been a news story, the Charlie Kirk situation. We might talk about that Jimmy Kimmel situation and how people on the political left are saying, well, this is blocking free speech and state censorship, et cetera, et cetera. We might talk about that. That's on the docket for tomorrow. We'll see if anything else happens that bumps that off. But that may be the topic for tomorrow. And of course, anything else that happens is developing Charlie Kirk situation. We'll obviously talk about that as well. Make sure you text me. I'll give you my number one more time. 305-384-6894. All the other apps I have it pinned as a comment. But on TikTok, I can't pin my own comments. And I can't leave it. TikTok doesn't let you leave a comment up the whole time. So I got to just keep telling y'all. Get this book for free. Mirrorofmotivation.com. Also go to your phone and text me. Text the word live, L-I-V-E. The number 305-384-6894. One more time. Should I say one more time? 305-384-6894. Here it is my texting community. You can see all the texts that I got in here that I got to respond to. 305-384-6894. You want to get in my text community, you can be in this list. And I do read and respond to my text messages. So every day I go through and just go through everything. 305-384-6894. Text the word live, L-I-V-E. We will send you a link to a page that has all the stuff that I mentioned here. My YouTube, my Instagram, my executive assistant's email address, my coaching programs. My phone number is in there as well. 305-384-6894. I'll see everybody tomorrow morning. I appreciate the moderators in here for keeping things in order. All right, we're not going to block or suspend or mute anybody for disagreement, only if you spam. You spam or troll, you're getting kicked out. But other than that, you can stay and disagree. My replays are always on my YouTube channel. I'm live on YouTube. You want to see me engage textually, then catch me on X at Dre All Day. And what else is there? I got to get ready for this call. Everybody have a great Thursday. I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Shout out to the new people. Shout out to the new followers. I'll see y'all tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Work on your game. 305-384-6894. KCS, you got it right. 305-384-6894. Everybody have a great Thursday. We out here. Work on your game.